looked at experience, at vibration, he believed if you could understand energy, you could unlock the codes of the universe. Ibn Arabi believed the same, but with a deeper dimension. He said the universe is not a separate thing, the universe is God in motion, the universe is the divine breathing through forms, so the frequency Tesla measured is the presence Ibn Arabi witnessed. And when you combine these to something shocking becomes obvious. Your body is not a structure, your body is a transmitter, your thoughts, not random, your thoughts are signals, your identity is not a thing, your identity is a temporary login into the infinite field, and the moment the I disappears, the divine broadcasts without distortion. Tesla understood energy as a system. Ibn Arabi understood energy as the real. Tesla saw reality as vibration. Ibn Arabi saw vibration as God's self-expression, and when you listen deeply, both are saying the same thing in different languages. Stop trying to force life and start tuning to the signal. When you force, you are operating from the noise of self, but when you tune, you are operating from the clarity of the infinite. Hidden symphony is this: your nervous system is an instrument, your breath is the metronome, your heart is the amplifier, and God is the musician. Tesla tried to decode the pattern. Ibn Arabi disappeared into the source of the patterns. The goal is not to become louder, the goal is to become clear, because light doesn't need a brand, light just needs a channel. When ego speaks, the universe becomes static, but when ego dissolves, the universe becomes melody. Energy is vocabulary, light is syntax, and consciousness is the grammar of the all. Tesla removed the walls of physics. Ibn Arabi removed the walls of identity, and both discovered the same reality. There is no separation, there is no two, there is only the one expressing itself as many. So the highest knowledge is not learn more, the highest knowledge is remove more, become empty, so the infinite frequency can pass without resistance, without distortion, without ownership, and then the hidden symphony of the universe will no longer sound like mystery. Energy is the language of the universe, and every vibration carries a message, whether you measure it with instruments or feel it in your heart. Energy is not just physics, it is the invisible script behind all forms, and this is what Tesla saw when he looked at electricity not as a tool to build machines, but as a universal current flowing through everything. He knew that matter itself was secondary to the motion behind it, that what we call objects are just frozen vibrations waiting to be heard. Ibn Arabi described the same reality in spiritual terms. He said the universe is God expressing itself through patterns of light and movement, and when you pay attention to the rhythm of existence, you realize that everything is a sign and every frequency is a voice. The difference is in language. Tesla spoke numbers, Ibn Arabi spoke consciousness, but the message is identical. The world is not random. The world is a symphony, and every particle is a note. If you listen with ego, you hear noise and chaos. If you listen with emptiness, you hear the music behind the noise. Your thoughts are not isolated. Your body is not separate. Your experiences are not individual. Each moment is a vibration that is transmitted through your nervous system and interpreted by your mind. But the mind is a crude instrument. It compresses infinite signals into simplified patterns, and this is why most people miss the message. Tesla worked tirelessly to refine instruments so that the pure frequency could be measured. Ibn Arabi worked tirelessly to refine the soul, that the pure frequency could be perceived, the one measured externally, the other internally. But both discovered the same truth, that energy is alive, that energy is conscious, that energy is the language through which the infinite communicates, and this is why, when you align with energy, you feel resonance. When you are misaligned, you feel tension, because resonance is confirmation that your vessel is open and your mind is attuned. The universe is constantly speaking to you in signals and vibrations. Your emotions, your intuition, your breath, and heartbeat are all coded messages, and the more you resist, the more noise you create. The more you force, the more static appears, and yet, when you listen and surrender, the signals flow unimpeded, and the universe becomes readable. And the key to this readability is understanding that energy is not created by you, but experienced through you. The ego believes that it originates events, and that it is the author of every motion, but the ego is blind to the conductor. It only sees the fingers moving on the piano, and not the hand that guides the motion. Tesla saw the hand in the circuitry, Ibn Arabi saw the hand in the soul, and both recognized the pattern the current that carries reality, the invisible thread that links everything from the smallest electron to the largest star. And when you begin to perceive this thread, you realize that everything is connected and nothing acts alone. Even the most random event is part of a larger orchestration. Even your thought is part of a cosmic vibration that interacts with infinite others. The hidden harmony is always present, but the untrained mind interprets it as randomness and pain and chaos. The trained mind perceives the melody. The disciplined soul perceives the symphony. Energy communicates in harmony. Light amplifies the message and consciousness decodes it. The human body is a receiver, the mind is the interpreter, the soul, the amplifier, and when these align, the invisible language becomes visible. You begin to sense the currents behind the currents. You begin to feel the vibrations that structure reality. You understand that nothing is truly separate, that your individual identity, a temporary waveform riding the infinite field, and in that realization your perception shifts. You no longer struggle against reality. You no longer fight the currents, because you understand that the currents are always moving through you. The more you resist, the more distortion occurs. The more you surrender, the clearer the message becomes. Tesla sought resonance in machines. Ibn Arabi sought resonance in the soul. Both teach that the ultimate knowledge is not accumulation, but attunement, not force, but listening. And as you attune yourself to energy, as you open your vessel to the vibrations that pass through you, the universe no longer seems fragmented, the world no longer feels chaotic. You begin to hear the hidden symphony, the language of existence itself, and you realize that every action, every form, every thought is part of this infinite song that flows endlessly. And the more you perceive the song, the more you understand that you are never separate from it. You are not the composer, and you are not the conductor. You are the instrument through which the music of existence plays continuously. The self is a receiver, not the origin, and the moment you understand this, the way you move through reality changes completely, because most humans operate under the illusion that their thoughts create the world, that their decisions are the source of outcomes, and that their identity is the driver of experience. But this is a false lens through which to see existence. When Ibn Arabi speaks of the self, he does not deny it, he reframes it. He shows that the self is a temporary instrument through which the infinite passes. The body is a vessel, the mind is a tuner, and the heart is an amplifier. These instruments are generators. They are conductors. They do not create energy. They channel energy, and the identity you call I is not the origin of action. It is the interface that allows the infinite to interact with the finite. Tesla saw the same principle in the material world. He understood that electricity is not created by the wire. The wire does not make the current, it simply conducts it. It is a channel for energy to flow, and the human being is the same. Tesla and Ibn Arabi are describing two languages for the same truth, one in numbers, one in consciousness, one in physics, one in spirituality, but both reveal that you are never truly the source. Everything you call your achievement is the result of a larger field of energy that passes through you. When you recognize that your thoughts are signals and your body is a receiver, you stop trying to control outcomes. The desire to dominate fades, and alignment becomes natural. When you operate from ego, you are filtering energy through resistance and distortion. Your perception is narrow, and the information that comes through is fragmented. But when you dissolve the sense of ownership of action, when you recognize that you are only the passage, the signals become clearer, the vibration becomes intelligible, and the patterns of the universe begin to reveal themselves. The more you identify with being the origin, the more you experience struggle, because you are attempting to carry the weight of reality in your limited vessel. The more you identify as a channel, the more you flow without friction, because you are simply allowing the energy that already exists to manifest through you. This is not passivity, it is not laziness. It is the most efficient state of operation. It is resonance in action. Your nervous system begins to align with the frequency of the infinite. Your heart beats in rhythm with the patterns that structure reality. Your mind receives insights not through effort but through attunement. And this is why Ibn Arabi says, the one who truly knows self knows the one, because understanding that you are not the origin collapses the illusion of separation. Once you realize that all your experiences, all your thoughts, all your actions are manifestations passing through you, rather than originating in you. The fear of loss diminishes, the anxiety about the future dissolves, and the ego's insistence on control fades. You are no longer fighting against the current of existence, because you understand that the current is already flowing through you. You are not standing in front of it trying to redirect it. You are part of it. Your choices are not the beginning of the river, they are simply the shaping of the water as it passes. And this is why surrender becomes intelligence, not weakness, and listening becomes strategy, not naivety. The universe communicates in energy, the infinite broadcasts in patterns, and the self as receiver can tune into these signals if the channel is clear, if the ego is quiet, if the mind is open, and the heart is receptive. The more you internalize this understanding, the more effortless life becomes, because you stop resisting what is and start cooperating with what already is. Cooperation with the flow does not diminish power, amplifies it. It allows the infinite to operate with precision through your body and mind. You become a conductor, not a generator, a vessel, not a factory, a channel, not a source. And when you operate in this way, the signals from the universe are no longer fragmented or confusing. They become coherent musical patterns. You can feel them in your intuition. You can recognize them in your relationships. You can read them in the unfolding of events, and each moment becomes a lesson, a guide, a melody reminding you that you are never separate, that the origin was never yours, that you are always the receiver. The self is a receiver, not the origin, and this awareness transforms existence. From struggle into resonance, from effort into alignment, from noise into symphony, and the moment you internalize this truth, the hidden architecture of reality begins to unfold in ways that no ego could manufacture, and every decision, every action, every thought becomes a note in the infinite song that is constantly playing through your being. Disappearance of ego unlocks the symphony, because as long as the self insists on control, the energy of the universe cannot flow clearly through you. The ego believes it is the origin of action. It believes it must force outcomes. It believes that effort equals creation. But in reality, effort alone generates friction. It creates static in the channels that allow the infinite to pass through. The more you resist, the more distorted the signal becomes. Surrender is not weakness, it is perception correction. It is the adjustment of the lens through which you interpret reality. When you dissolve the ego, you remove the interference. You stop trying to own the currents, and instead you allow them to pass through the vessel that you are. The hidden symphony begins to play when you stop forcing, because each action of life is a vibration of the infinite trying to express itself, and the ego bends the vibration into noise. It personalizes it, it claims credit, it misunderstands the rhythm. But when the ego disappears, the notes flow freely, the harmony of existence becomes audible, the patterns of energy become visible, and you begin to understand that you were never meant to be the composer. You were always meant to be the instrument. The body, the instrument, the mind is the tuner, the heart is the amplifier, and the infinite is the musician. As long as the ego is in front of the keys, the music is blocked, but the moment the ego steps aside, the hidden symphony plays effortlessly, and the clarity of this perception cannot be manufactured, it cannot be forced, it must emerge through alignment, through disappearance, through the understanding that your sense of being the doer, an illusion, that the real power originates beyond your limited self. When you allow the ego to dissolve, you experience life as resonance instead of struggle. You experience moments as flow instead of friction. You begin to see that the universe is constantly communicating through energy signals, through patterns, through rhythms, and that every thought, every action, every emotion is part of the melody. But as long as the ego filters these patterns, they come out distorted as noise. Surrender is tuning into the correct frequency. It is allowing the infinite to express itself without interruption. It is the recognition that ownership of action is a blockage rather than an empowerment, and this is why masters across centuries have emphasized disappearance, the ultimate elevation, because only when the ego is quiet can the full spectrum of light and energy pass through the human vessel. Only when the I fades does the infinite appear. In its purest form, disappearance does not mean annihilation. It does not mean non-existence. It means removing the obstruction that separates you from reality. The ego is a wall, the false identity is a veil. When these dissolve, the signal becomes audible, and the symphony is no longer hidden. The patterns that connect all things become clear. The rhythm behind chaos becomes perceivable. The intelligence of the universe can finally be read. The one who disappears does not vanish into emptiness, but becomes a conduit for the infinite. The body channels energy, the mind interprets frequency, the heart amplifies light, and the soul becomes aware of the entire orchestration. And this is why disappearance of ego is not defeat, but the ultimate form of power. The more the ego insists on prominence, the more static interferes with clarity. The more the ego clings to control, the more fragmented the perception. But when the ego steps aside, alignment occurs, resonance occurs, the harmony of all existence is felt, and then life itself becomes an experience of music. The hidden symphony of the universe is not something external, it is passing constantly through you. It has always been playing, but your listening instrument had been blocked by ego. Now, when ego disappears, you hear the melody of your own existence in tune with the infinite pattern, the subtle frequencies of energy, the dance of light, the currents of consciousness, all become accessible and intelligible, and the act of living itself becomes a note in the universal score. The more the ego dissolves, the clearer the music, the more the self fades, the more the infinite expresses, and the more you realize that the universe was never waiting for your doing, it was waiting for your listening. Disappearance of ego unlocks the symphony, and the symphony was always there, flowing through you, shaping reality, revealing truth, and teaching that control, illusion surrenders, intelligence, and alignment is the ultimate mastery. Alignment is the ultimate knowledge, because most people pursue accumulation. They chase skills, they chase recognition, they chase plans and strategies, and yet they fail to realize that the ultimate mastery is not in adding more, it is in removing interference. The highest intelligence is not measured by how much you can control the external world, it is measured by how clear you can become internally, and the clearer you are, the more the infinite can operate through you. When Ibn Arabi speaks of alignment, he speaks of a state where the self no longer insists on ownership, where the ego no longer obstructs the currents of existence, where the heart, mind, and body are all tuned to the frequency of the divine. This is the same truth Tesla glimpsed through physics. He aligned his instruments to resonate with energy. He tuned circuits to the right frequencies. He understood that without alignment, the current would not flow, the wire would vibrate in chaos, and the lamp would not shine. And the human being is exactly the same. The body, the wire, the mind is the circuit, and the soul, the lamp. And when alignment is precise, the infinite can pass through without distortion. The actions you take, the words you speak, the thoughts you think are no longer forced or contrived. They are expressions of the current already moving through you. The ego believes that alignment is submission, but in reality it is freedom, because once you align, you are no longer struggling against the flow. Once you align, you are no longer blocked by resistance. Once you align, you become a conduit for infinite intelligence. The more you try to control the flow, the more friction appears. The more you resist, the more distortion enters the channel. But the moment you release ownership, the moment you harmonize with the currents carry you. The currents carry your work, your influence, your presence, and the results are greater than anything your ego could generate through effort alone. Alignment requires awareness, requires listening, requires surrender. It requires the disappearance of insistence that I am the doer, that I am the author, that I am the controller. And this disappearance is not loss, it is enhancement, it is expansion, because a vessel that removes obstructions can hold the full spectrum of energy. A mind that removes interference can perceive infinite patterns. A heart that releases ego can amplify the light of existence. The universe constantly broadcasts signals. The infinite constantly communicates frequencies. Most humans cannot read them because their channels are clogged by resistance and identification with self, but the aligned individual becomes like a perfectly tuned instrument. The vibrations enter clearly, and the melody becomes intelligible, the hidden symphony that connects energy and light.